Today is Wednesday, Parashat Terumah, Parashat of this week. Israel is given the mitzvah of building a mishkan, a sanctuary for the divine presence. This is where the korbanot were done. This is where the menorah was lit every day. But nowadays we don't have Bet HaMikdash, but every synagogue is a Mikdash Me'at, is a sort of Bet HaMikdash, sort of a sanctuary that comparable to the Mishkan or the Bet HaMikdash. And therefore, it's a mitzvah also every generation to build a synagogue, to make a place, any place where there are 10 Jewish people that live. There's an obligation for them to make a special place for prayer, the minyan, and that place is called Bet Knesset, which means a place where people gather for prayer. And Baruch Hashem, our synagogue, it was members of our community who came here, and 50 years ago, had the need to establish a synagogue in the tradition, Sephardic Moroccan tradition, and there was a mitzvah that really is connected to what we're told in the parasha of this week, where they built a mishkan in the desert. We're also in our generation, and every generation we have an obligation to build a synagogue for people to pray at. And you can even force people of that community to participate. If you have 10 Jewish people and they need to build a synagogue in that location, one can sort of like impose on the others to say, look, this is an obligation that you have to share in this mitzvah. The tefillah, the prayer of a person, is best heard in a place where there is a kahal that pray with minyan. Of course, you can pray on your own, but it's not the same. And even if a person is not able to go to a synagogue to pray, you should try to pray at the same time that people pray at the synagogue. Or, rather than praying at home, if let's say he got up late in the morning, it's preferable for him to go all the way to the synagogue and to pray there rather than to pray at home, because the place of Bet Knesset has a certain kedusha, has a certain holiness that that you do not find in other locations. And you have to be very respectful of a synagogue. Once you're in a synagogue, you're not allowed to speak divrei chol, speak mundane speech. I'm not speaking about during the prayer. That's for sure. A person is not allowed to converse with the person next to him while he is involved in prayer. Not even allowed to learn when prayer is going on. You have to be involved in the prayers per se. But I'm saying not even in a time of prayer, a time when there's no prayer going on, you're not allowed to speak mundane speech in a synagogue, and because it's a place of holiness. It's dedicated to prayer, to learning Torah. Also, you have to be very careful in honoring the synagogue by not taking a shortcut through a synagogue. Let's say a synagogue had openings on 2 streets, and you don't want to go around the block to go to the other street. You cannot cut through the synagogue to make a shorter path to get to where you want to go, because the synagogue is for you to pray, not to use it as a shortcut. And also, let's say you forgot something at the synagogue and you come back to get it, or you want to go in to get somebody's attention. You cannot just go in and take what you need and leave. You have to sit down and say a pasuk of Tehillim, a mizmor of Tehillim, to learn a little bit. Let's say, not even if you don't know how to read, at least you sit down for a little bit before you take whatever you wanted to bring from the synagogue out, so that when you come to synagogue, it should be with respect. And even in sitting in a synagogue, even without prayer, it itself has a zechut, a merit to it, because the pasuk says, "Ashrei yoshevei vetecha." Fortunate are those who sit in your home, which means in the home of Hashem, which would be the synagogue. So we speak a lot in the parasha of this week about the vessels and the building of the Mishkan, but it's not just about the Mishkan, it's about every single synagogue that we have. There is a sanctified place, V'asuli Mikdash v'shachanti betocham. They'll make me a sanctuary and I'll dwell among them. And the idea is also to have respect and awe, and to hold the synagogue in a high level of kedusha. That's why the pasuk says, "Bebet Elokim alech beragesh." When I go into the house of God, which means the synagogue, I'll walk beragesh, I'll walk with awe, and with a certain amount of trepidation, a certain amount of respect, so that it's not just going into any place. It's a place of holiness, a place of Mikdash Me'at. Baruch Adonai Le'olam, Amen ve'amen.